Melissa run through the roll call just to confirm a quorum, and we can get started.
Thank you, Eric. So I would like to call our virtual meeting of the Transportation Policy Committee to order. And Melissa, please take roll.
Thank you, Chair Harkey and members of the TPC. I'll call your name. Please indicate if you're present for the record. Please unmute before responding. Rock Arnett. Mayor Barney.
Present.
Thank you. David Barry.
Hello.
Hey, Dad.
Hi.
Did Mom get home?
Hi, Rock. You're not muted. Can you please mute? Councilmember Binsbacher.
Present.
Thank you. Jen Daniels. Doug DeCluson. Councilmember Durham.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Gallego.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Giles.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Hall.
I'm here.
Thank you. Charles Humantle.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Lord.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Price. Mayor Osborne.
Present.
Thank you. Mark Reardon. Supervisor Sellers. Mayor Wires.
I'm present.
Thank you. Mayor Woods. And Chair Harkey is present. A quorum is present.
Thank you, Melissa. Our next item number 2 is a call to the audience. This item, with this item, public were asked to submit written comments related to the meeting through the MAG website. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on our agenda, that are on the agenda for discussion, but not for action. So I do understand we have some items that have been submitted today. Would you please read them?
Yes, thank you, Chair Harkey and members of the TPC. We did receive several public comments. The first public comment comes from Jonathan Sims, a resident of Surprise. I'll begin comment. For the transportation study, I would like to submit making the 60 a freeway with frontage roads to facilitate current intersections, allowing for freer travel down the 60 corridor, and IMO adding a great economic impact, making it easier to traverse for shopping and dining. End comment. The second public comment comes from Nancy Welch, a resident of Tempe. I'll begin comment. I have watched the Momentum RTP process in recent months. I appreciated the significant involvement for the public and the thoughtfulness with which the plan was developed. The dramatic constraints the region's leaders do and will face are clear, but also mitigated by creativity. The goals are well articulated, appropriate, and aspirational for the region. At the same time, the strategy and investments are prudent and in tune with the planning inputs. Thank you for a well-crafted plan that should serve today's and tomorrow's residents and businesses well. End comment. The third public comment comes from Larry Schofield, who works in the concrete industry in Arizona. I'll begin comment. Good morning. I wanted to address the apples and oranges issue that was brought up last time. The discussion indicated that it was not fair to compare a 5-year-old asphalt rubber surface to a newly diamond ground concrete surface. I thought that was a great comment. However, if one were to review the Arizona Quiet Pavement Research Program that several $1 million of taxpayers' funds were spent on, you would see that there were 117 OBSI noise tests conducted on the existing transverse tined concrete pavement. Interestingly, these pavements ranged in age from 1 to 14 years with an average of 4.5 years. And amazingly, this comparison is still what is used today to show the improvement derived from asphalt rubber, yet no one seems to have an issue with comparing the 14-year-old transverse tined pavement with a new asphalt rubber overlay. But when asphalt rubber doesn't compare well against a diamond ground concrete surface, you claim foul, really? And just for the record, the concrete pavements that were recently diamond ground were between 18 and 20 years old at the time, hardly a new pavement. It should also be noted that the ADOT noise testing conducted in 2013 was on an asphalt rubber surface that was 10 years or less in age. The ADOT 2020 measurements on the 18 to 20-year-old concrete pavement indicated it was as quiet or quieter than the asphalt rubber, even though freeway capacity had been increased 20 to 25% with additional lanes. It's interesting that this was considered an apples to apples comparison. Finally, if anyone wants to learn about pavement noise frequencies, consult the ADOT report as well. All surface types, asphalt or concrete, have unique frequency spectrums, and they are all different. The current Volpe text summaries seem to ignore this, and much of the other information in the previous ADOT study that they were actually involved in and are repeating again on a much smaller scale today, and again at the taxpayer's expense. Thank you. End comment, and that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Melissa. Next on our agenda is approval of the consent agenda. Items 3A through 3C are on the consent agenda. Does any member of the TPC have questions or would like a presentation on any of these items? Hearing none, could I have a motion to recommend approval of items 3A through 3C?
So moved. This is Charles.
All right, motion by Charles Humantles. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mayor Skip Hall. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, staff, please do a roll call of the vote.
Yes, thank you, Chair Harkey, members of the TPC. I'll call your name. Please indicate how you vote on the motion. Please be sure to unmute before responding. Rock Arnett.
I vote aye.
Thank you. Mayor Barney.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Binsbacher.
Aye.
Thank you. Jen Daniels. Doug DeCluson.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Durham.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Gallego.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Giles.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Hall.
Aye.
Thank you. Charles Humantle.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Lord.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Price. Mayor Osborne.
Aye.
Thank you. Mark Reardon. Supervisor Sellers. Mayor Wires.
I vote aye.
Thank you. Mayor Woods. Chair Harkey, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone that I missed?
Jen Daniels, aye.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels, and that motion does carry unanimously.
Thank you, TPC. Our next item, item number 4, is the Regional Bus Rapid Transit Feasibility Study. MAG Transportation staffer Kara Nessar will provide a report. Kara.
Thank you, Chair Harkey, members of the Transportation Policy Committee. I'm here today to present this item to you. It is on your agenda for action today. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this study was to lay the groundwork for implementing a regional bus rapid transit system by identifying high-performing corridors in the region and develop a regional BRT performance and design standards. The City of Phoenix also kicked off a BRT study in tandem to this one, and we worked in close coordination with them to ensure that our recommendations were complementary and that we connect to their planned system, which the city also has its own dedicated funding source to. Next slide, please. This is an overview of our project process. It was highly centered around stakeholder engagement, and we formed a technical advisory group to drive the process. So with their input, we developed vision, goals, and objectives, BRT standards and performance measures, and ultimately identified a potential regional BRT system. Next slide, please. This is an overview of our project process. The project kicked off in November of 2019 and concluded this summer. And here you can see our major tasks. The final report was included in your agenda packet today and can now be viewed on the MAG website. Next slide, please. This is a map of the study area, which included 7 cities across our valley. That's Glendale, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, Chandler, Gilbert, and Mesa. The study area was selected based on those areas which have the density and transit propensity to support high capacity transit investments. Next slide, please. Our initial analysis relied heavily on data, and we used that to develop a transit propensity map. We used demographic data to predict where high capacity transit might be the most successful based on resident characteristics. Transit propensity is a strong indicator of where high capacity transit service will be most successful because it's linked directly to demand. Next slide. We also looked at major activity centers, which you can see here. These were identified with input from our technical advisory group. Next slide. The visions, goals, and objectives are shown here. This we identified also with our technical advisory group, and our goals here were to improve regional mobility, accessibility, and connectivity, create a more balanced transportation system across the region, develop those regional performance and design standards so that we have a standardized level of service, encourage transit supportive land use and development, and ensure that we had an inclusive process with building regional support along the way. Next slide, please. So we ended up with a universe of potential BRT corridors that you can see here on this map. Those BRT corridors from Phoenix are, the Phoenix study are indicated here in green. Next slide, please. The next step in the process was to evaluate each potential corridor using the 13 evaluation criteria shown here. Each criteria was assigned a metric and point value. This allowed us to score and rank all of our corridors. And then these corridors were refined through stakeholder interviews and input from our technical advisory group. In the analysis, we focused mostly on existing transit ridership and service equity because these are both strong indicators that a corridor will support improved service. In other words, we want to make sure we're investing in improved service where people are likely to use it. Next slide, please. So again, here is our recommended future BRT network. The evaluation resulted in the identification of 8 high potential corridors and a few other potential BRT corridors. The 8 potential corridors are 35th Avenue and Van Buren Street, Camelback Road and 24th Street, Thomas Road and 44th Street, Scottsdale and Rural Road, the Capitol I-10, Country Club Drive and Arizona Avenue, Glendale Avenue, and finally Baseline Road. 3 of these corridors will receive 70% regional funding as part of the RTP, and those are 35th Ave and Van Buren, Scottsdale and Rural, and Country Club and Arizona Avenue. Next slide, please. Along with the recommended future BRT network, our study produced performance and design standards. The design standards identify recommended or required components of the BRT system while emphasizing corridor level implementation flexibility. These performance and design standards were developed with input from our TAG and in collaboration with Valley Metro and the City of Phoenix. They are an important outcome of this study because they set a consistent high standard of service that the region is looking to support and high performance routes which are competitive for federal funding. Next slide. The study also identified strategies and opportunities for BRT implementation. These strategies aim to provide guidance to member cities as they endeavor to prime corridors for BRT implementation and investment. Next slide, please. And finally, we made a concerted effort to engage with our stakeholders and the public in this project. We conducted interviews with stakeholders and peers to inform the project process and outcomes. And we put together a robust virtual public meeting, which ran through the month of October and had some good engagement. Next slide. Chair Harkey and members of the TPC, this concludes my presentation. A reminder that this is on your docket for action today, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Karen. Questions, please. All right, hearing none. As mentioned, this item is on the agenda to recommend acceptance of the Regional Bus Rapid Transit Feasibility Study. Is there a motion?
So moved, Gallego.
Thank you, Mayor. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Humantle. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion of the motion? Okay, staff, please take a vote of the participants.
Thank you, Chair Harkey, members of the TPC. I'll call your name. Please indicate how you vote on the motion. Rock Arnett.
I vote aye.
Thank you. Mayor Barney.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Binsbacher.
Aye.
Thank you. Jen Daniels.
Aye.
Thank you. Doug DeCluson.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Durham.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Gallego.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Giles.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Hall.
Aye.
Thank you. Charles Humantle.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Lord.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Osborne.
Aye.
Thank you. Supervisor Sellers. Mayor Wires.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Woods.
Aye.
Thank you. And Chair Harkey, how do you vote?
Yes, please.
Is there anyone that I missed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. The next item is MAG truck parking study update. MAG Transportation Director Tim Stroh will give this update. Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of TPC. It's great to see everybody today. As you said, I'm here to provide an update on a recently completed MAG truck parking study that we just wrapped up last month. This item is on your agenda for information and discussion. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as you all know, the movement of goods is an essential part of Arizona's economy. 83% of all goods that are moved in our state are moved and made in a truck. The problem is that we have a love-hate relationship when it comes to trucking and truck parking, to be quite honest with you. The trucks deliver the food that we eat, the clothes that we wear, and the medicine that keeps us safe. The issue is that a lot of folks don't want to see trucks parked in front of their house, right, in their HOA community, downtowns, and city centers. They're large and they obstruct viewpoints and the flow of traffic. So it's something that's very tough to talk about. A lot of times, folks, there's very negative connotation when it comes to trucking. You only really think about it when your Amazon delivery doesn't come on time to your front door, or there's a truck parked, trucks in front of you on the freeway and it's slowing your commute home. So, these trucks get paid on a per mile basis. So every minute and every mile counts to their bottom line. In 2017, the United States Department of Transportation required all commercial truck drivers to use an electronic logging device to record on and off duty times. In the past, drivers used a paper log to record hours of service, which gave them a little bit of flexibility in recording their hours, which also allowed them to have a little bit additional time to find a truck parking spot at night. When the ELDs came online, electronic logging devices you see in this picture here, once the truck starts to move more than 5 miles per hour, it starts to record that time. This way, the drivers can't change their log, it's recorded, and it's strict and it's fair. This is to help protect the driver from fatigue, but also the surrounding community and members of the public. Truck drivers have to follow hours of service regulations that allow them to work 14 consecutive hours, in which they can drive up to 11 hours, and that is, of course, after being off duty for 10 or more hours. If they violate these regulations, they can receive fines and even lose their jobs. This creates challenges for drivers, especially when you think about a driver who is getting close to the end of their day, they've made their deliveries, they're starting to look for a place to park. Maybe they're not familiar with the Phoenix metro area, and they have to, their hours of service is coming to a close, and they have to park on the side of a freeway, on an off-ramp. Or they show up to a truck parking location and it's full. So what are they supposed to do? So sometimes they're forced to park in areas that are illegal, that are enforced by the local agencies, and they're not ideal for either the truckers or the surrounding community. Soon after the ELD mandate went into full effect at the end of 2017, ADOT conducted a statewide truck parking study with more of an emphasis on the 20 rest areas in the state. Well, during that analysis, they found a heavy concentration of undesignated truck parking in the MAG region, specifically in the industrial clusters. So it was at the direction of the stakeholders of that group that they asked if MAG could conduct a separate independent analysis of truck parking in the MAG region with a focus on the truck parking in the industrial clusters, but also take a look at what's happening in the rural parts as well. Next slide, please. So MAG kicked off the truck parking study at the conclusion of the ADAP study at the end of 2019. We put together a stakeholder group to help assist in guiding the study that consisted of 12 MAG member agencies and 6 representatives from the trucking industry, including the Arizona Trucking Association. The goal of the study was to assess the current availability of truck parking in the MAG region with a specific focus, as I stated earlier, on the industrial clusters. We wanted to get a better understanding of where trucks were parking, why, and develop recommendations to assist member agencies to address truck parking needs and safe solutions for both truckers and the surrounding community. Next slide, please. As I stated, the main focus of the study is to analyze truck parking patterns in the industrial clusters. This map illustrates the locations of industrial and commercial land uses, purple for industrial and red for commercial. As all of us know, we've had these meetings in EDC and other meetings as well. Interstate 10 is the economic backbone of the state in our region. It's a travel connects to the West Coast ports over by LA, Long Beach, or Los Angeles and Long Beach ports. It also provides access to one of our #1 trading partners with Mexico, and also with inland ports in Texas and further to the east. When it comes to truck parking, most truck parking occurs in the industrial land uses. This represents 60% of the instances of trucks parking and 70% of the cumulative parking duration on an average weekday. Next slide, please. To orient the group on rest areas and truck stops, I'm sure this is not the favorite topic of the day, and people don't sit around and say, hey, let's look at rest areas on our spare time. In the MAG region, the majority of the rest areas and truck stops are located along Interstate 10, specifically along I-10 West, where the distribution centers are located. There are 4 public rest areas along I-10. Those are highlighted in yellow on the map, 2 at Burnt Wells, located out past Buckeye, 2 down by Casa Grande, called the Zacatón Rest Area. In addition to the 4 rest areas along I-10, there are 19 private truck stops. In total, we have about 2,200 dedicated truck parking spaces in the rest areas and truck stops. This includes 98 spaces in rest areas and about 2,111 spaces in truck stops. This does not include parking on city streets or in private truck terminals. These facilities cater primarily to the 10-hour break requirements that truckers have to follow, and they're also usable for 30-minute breaks and logistical staging. Next slide, please. As part of the analysis to identify truck parking patterns, both in designated and undesignated parking locations, we also took a look at various land uses throughout the region. The project team utilized truck GPS data from the American Trucking Research Institute. This data was used to identify where, when, and for how long trucks are stopping. Only stops lasting more than 10 minutes were considered in the analysis. We focused on stops per weekday and stop duration per weekday. As expected, most truck parking demand was found in the commercial and industrial zones. Truck stops and rest areas account for about 10% of the parking duration, with the rest occurring on city streets and industrial clusters or residential areas, as well as other land uses such as agriculture, vacant, office, and mixed-use zones. Next slide, please. The project team spent a significant amount of time sorting through the data and identifying the top undesignated truck parking sites that were observed. On the previous slide, it showed that we observed over 79,000 truck stops, making over 750 stops. Truck stop making 750 stops. That's a significant amount of data, so it was a big effort to sort through there and prioritize locations. Our goal of this analysis was not to locate every truck parking location in the region and identify specific parking improvements, but to identify top parking clusters that we could evaluate and provide general parking solutions that our member agencies could use moving forward. The team divided the region into a grid of 400 sectors and tried to pinpoint specific groupings of undesignated truck parking. We then reduced the list to the top 128 locations and then evaluated that list based off their potential to create safety issues for future crashes along arterials, safety issues due to geographic location and isolation and lack of lighting, and nuisance potential to residential communities. We then narrowed the list of the top 33 locations that were experiencing a minimum undesignated parking for over 40 hours per week. Next slide, please. So the next level of analysis was to conduct field visits to all 33 locations to verify the truck GPS data and satellite imagery. So Will Randolph, other MAG staff member, he helped manage this project, did a great job. Will and I went out one night to visit all 33 locations. We went out in the middle of the night when we expect to see truck drivers resting, taking their mandatory 10-hour breaks. We wanted to visit the site, first to make sure that there was truck parking in that location, but also see if there was any safety issues and see if there's any additional opportunities for truckers to possibly not park in that location, but maybe be directed to a designated parking location. Based on our findings, we reduced the list to the top 14 locations, which included 5 sites that received multiple responses from our survey, and we'll talk about survey results in a little bit. Next slide, please. So like I said, our goal was to really narrow this down to some locations where we can come up with some solutions for the member agencies, but do a field review and really kind of get into the details. So I can't show you all the maps and all the analysis, but like I said, I wanted to provide the committee with a couple of examples on some of the sites that we visited. Location 2, which is on the left side of your screen, is on North 85th Avenue in Tolleson, right next to the Love's Travel Stop. This travel stop has 89 truck parking stalls. It is found to be one of the top 5 most utilized truck stops in Arizona. It provides the basic services you would expect with showers, food, gas. There's a light mechanic on duty. There is no reservations that truckers can make at this site. And one of the challenges they face is that RVs can also park in this location. So not only do truckers have limited space where they can park, now they have to compete with RVs, which makes this a very challenging situation. Like I said, it's free to park. On our field visit, the majority of the undesignated truck parking occurred from midnight to 5 a.m. These field visits observed over 30 trucks parked on North 85th Avenue and West Latham Street. With all the trucks parked in these locations, it made the roads very tight. It was hard to drive through. It was very narrow. It also restricts access during the day to the Quick Trip Distribution Center and the Circle K Distribution Center located to the south. There are some, like I said, the problem with the site is the overabundance of trucks parked in North 85th Avenue. There's no truck parking signs all around the facility. A possible solution exists in converting one or more vacant parcels into truck parking or short-term delivery staging. Undesignated parking at this location may also be lessened by working with Love's to explore real-time data about truck parking availability. Like I said, this is one of the top 5 sites in the state of Arizona. It's also challenging when you have industrial areas and built-out developed spots. This area does have some vacant opportunity, but they may not want to designate it as truck parking. The locations 4 on the site, this is one of the sites that I visited. It sits on a narrow vacant lot between North 56th Street and a spur line of the Union Pacific Railroad. Railroad tracks are just over 30 feet away from where the drivers frequently park their trucks. There's a Bash's Distribution Center diagonally across from the vacant lot. Trucks also park on both sides of East Fry Road, a low-volume street next to the loading bays of the distribution center. This is a pretty dangerous spot. When I drove out here that night, that area located in red, there was about 7 trucks parked. They were facing different directions, facing each other. They were next to the railroad tracks, but they were also next to 56th Street. One of the problems is this is a dangerous location. There's a lack of lighting. There's also a soft curb. So the truckers can actually step out of their trucks into traffic, but their oncoming traffic can easily veer into this area and hit commercial vehicles. It's also tough for them to merge in with traffic in the morning hours when they're probably going over to the DC to make their pickups. They have to merge with traffic, and there's no logical spot for this. So like I said, this area, unfortunately, it's pushed up against the Loop 202, but there are some vacant lots in the area that we could probably, we'd recommend exploring additional staging opportunities. But we'd also recommend putting no truck parking signs in this lot to make it safer for the truckers themselves and the surrounding community, and then work with the trucking industry on locating closer, more designated truck parking opportunities for them to take advantage of. Next slide, please. So in addition to using the truck GPS data to identify where trucks are parking, we conducted an industry-focused survey using the MetricQuest platform to collect feedback on truck parking issues and recommendations. The survey included four different parts: 10 survey questions regarding their parking habits and preferences, mapping areas of concern, rating potential strategies, and demographics of the survey respondents. The survey was distributed to local and national freight logistics companies. The survey was also featured in industry publications, including Transport Topics and Overdrive. We had over 309 respondents with over 500 visits to the website. We were very fortunate that 95% of the participants were experienced truck drivers and 83% were long-haul drivers who would need to stop in the Phoenix metro area to take their mandatory 10-hour breaks while passing through the region. In addition to survey questions, we asked survey participants to place 3 markers on a map in the greater Phoenix area to identify locations of truck parking issues. There are 6 different types of markers to choose from. There were lack of parking, illegal parking, lack of amenities, safety, and enforcement. A total of 461 markers were placed with 113 comments tied to specific locations. Over 72% of the markers represented areas lacking truck parking. Next slide, please. So why do we need truck parking? We're just going to run through a couple of these. This question, really, the answer was not a surprise. Survey participants were asked to choose up to 3 reasons describing why they need truck parking from the 6 choices. As shown in the figure, the most selected choices were the 10-hour breaks. Not a shock, right? Staging for pickup and delivery came in second. The least selected choices were meals, restrooms, and 30-minute breaks. Next slide, please. The survey asked participants to pick 5 issues from a list of 12 to describe the main truck parking issues in the region. As you see, the biggest issue is lack of truck parking, lack of parking in certain areas, parking limitations at rest areas, and knowing if and where spaces are available. Next slide, please. In addition to the online survey, the project team conducted 20 in-person or over-the-phone interviews. We started doing this. We had to split it up because of COVID issues when this project was going on. The phone interviews and in-person interviews consisted of trucking companies, airport operators, law enforcement, university supply chain faculty. Topics discussed included zoning and development impacts, operating concerns, ELD impacts, and technology. One of the primary concerns expressed in interviews was regarding rapid commercial development, particularly for large warehouse complexes. This has created several problems for truckers. In many cases, this has been accomplished by eliminating on-site truck parking and narrowing the streets that trucks must use to operate around facilities. Participants felt that greater cooperation across jurisdictions is needed to address these concerns. It was also noted that in multiple interviews that residential and mixed-use activities have grown in areas that were previously designated as industrial. This has restricted the space available for trucking and truck stop facilities to expand around these locations. Next slide, please. So now we're close to the end of the presentation, so thank you for your patience. We're going to focus on a few of the parking solutions. Like I said, this study area was massive in size. It's one thing to be able to study and evaluate rest areas where you can add capacity and it's a little bit more simplified. We try to look at the entire region, narrow it down to specific areas so we can get examples of what we can and cannot do better moving forward. So I'm going to walk through some of the solutions for this project. They're going to focus on industrial cluster parking, truck stops and rest areas, and dispersed parking solutions. One of the biggest things we identified was communication, right? If the truckers do not know where to park, they're going to park in areas that we don't want them, that are restricted and that we have to enforce. So working with the trucking community on encouraging operators to use, there's some great apps like Park My Truck and Secure Space that could help direct folks to appropriate parking locations. So communication is a big deal. Next slide, please. In addition, we have to find additional on-street parking locations. And I know this can be challenging in more built-out industrial areas, but there's a real opportunity for member agencies, local agencies, to try to modify existing areas that are really developed for industrial use, but there's an opportunity moving forward. In new emerging industrial clusters, there's an opportunity to plan and calculate how much parking you're going to need for certain facilities and come up with a truck parking plan that works for those industrial areas. Next slide, please. So some truck stop operators have the technology in place that report availability of truck parking in their facility. However, several of the operators do not, which creates overflow situations that we discussed with Love Stop and Tullison. ADOT has taken the lead on studying and making recommendations for public rest areas. They have made significant progress over the last few years with making over 9 million in rest area improvements, adding truck parking capacity to the system. ADOT has also participated in the I-10 Connects Corridor Coalition. The coalition was awarded a grant for $7 million by the US DOT to implement a truck parking availability system along the I-10 corridor from Texas to California. The TPAS project will create a system that can detect truck stopping availability at 37 public rest areas in the 4 states, and 8 sites will be located in the state of Arizona. So this is exactly what is needed for the rest areas. This would be great if we could bring in the public private truck stops as well. Like I said, more information, the better. Help direct the truckers to where they need to go. Next slide, please. Dispersed parking solutions. So like I said, when we started this study, our main focus there's an emphasis on the industrial clusters, but we also talked to several member agencies that were experiencing truck parking patterns out in their communities. And this would be away from the industrial clusters, right? You would see pockets of trucks parked. A lot of times they're trying to service commercial centers in your community. Sometimes there's parking regulations that do not allow them to park in those commercial centers. So they have to find a side of a road or a vacant lot in your community to wait for their delivery and pickup time. You also have a lot of residents that are truckers, and they park outside of HOA communities and clusters. And what the #1 complaint is, the people coming into the HOA don't want to see the trucks, right? So it's really incumbent upon the member agencies, the local agencies, to really work with the trucking community, commercial centers, identify some solutions that you can possibly partner with retail establishments to provide marked staging and overnight parking zones. I know Home Depot, we've talked to some folks in different groups, but Home Depot, Walmart, they are open. Some of them are open to having trucks parked at those locations. So that is one strategy moving forward. Next slide, please. So like I said, the study just wrapped up. The next step of our process is we're going to reach out to member agencies, talk about some of the solutions, and see what they want to do, to be quite honest with you. To really drill down into the heart of the issue, you have to almost do a sub-area study or a pilot study for a smaller sub-area to really identify where the trucks are going, parking and going, what is, looking at the roadway widths, looking at circulation issues. So there's a lot more to be done. So we're gonna reach out to the members, see what the appetite is for the next steps. We're also going to continue to partner with ADOT and the trucking industry on the state freight plan update. They just kicked this off. This will also include an update to their truck parking piece that will focus on rest areas. So there's a lot of good momentum occurring right now when it comes to freight. Like I said, we're going to keep working on this and we'll see where it goes. Mr. Chair, that completes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer your questions. You go to the next slide. There you go.
Thank you, Tim. Are there any questions from the membership? Well, pretty comprehensive presentation. Thank you so much. And as you mentioned, there will be other steps that I'm sure we will hear about in the near future.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Our next item is the update on Interstate 10 Broadway Curve Project. Transportation engineer Quinn Castro will provide a report. Quinn.
Thank you, Chair, members of TPC. Again, Quinn Castro here with MAG to present an update on the I-10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project. I'm here today with Amy Ritz, project manager for the Broadway Curve Project at the co-located office. Next slide, please. So today I'm going to go over a brief project overview, a couple of the benefits of the project, an update on construction activities, the public outreach that has taken place to date, as well as transportation demand management efforts. Next slide, please. So as many of you know, there was a series of studies undertaken by both MAG and ADOT that led into this I-10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project. Next slide, please. The project itself is scoped to widen I-10 to 6 general purpose lanes with 2 HOV lanes between 24th Street and US 60, build a collector distributor road system between Baseline Road and 40th Street, add a 4th general purpose lane on I-10 from US 60 to Ray Road, and modify connections at State Route 143, Broadway Road, and US 60 to both improve traffic flow and safety. Next slide, please. This is a flyer that was created by MAG, kind of outlining some of the economic benefits that will come as a result of this project. In particular, I wanted to point out that rush hour traffic will improve and move 25% faster than it would have without these improvements, and that construction activities will grow local business sales by $1.2 billion and generate 1,400 new construction jobs. Next slide, please. This is a high-level overview of the project schedule from when the request for proposals was issued in December of 2019. Currently, we are in the summer-fall 2021 with construction activities just beginning. Next slide, please. So a brief update on construction activities that have taken place to date. Starting the weekend of July 23rd, there was a series of 6 single-direction full freeway closures. Many of you may have driven through them or been impacted by them. Most interesting to note from that was the post-closure review meetings held by the developer team, ADOT, and other stakeholders. This was an opportunity for the developer team to lay out what their expectations for the closure had been, and then kind of do a lessons learned, denoting, were the delays that they had, what they expected. In most cases, yes, they were. Were there any incidents? And then give an opportunity to the other stakeholders, so cities in the areas, to discuss any comments that they had received, negative or positive, and talk about what they can do better next for the following closure. These closures are going to set the blueprint for what the future closures along I-10 are going to be over the next 4 years of construction. Upcoming items of work that you will see in the next month include plant salvage, glare screen removal, temporary lighting connections. So if you see some exposed conduit out there, that's what they're doing, medium barrier removal, and drainage. Next slide, please. So public outreach efforts. ADOT and the developer team have been working very closely together with other stakeholders on their public outreach. So first that I'd like to note is the mobile application. So you can find this in your app store, and it provides live traffic updates for the project, as well as a look ahead. There's a project website, i10broadwaycurve.com, where you can find out all about the project. Most interesting thing that's been posted there was 2 days ago, a visualization of the entire project was posted. It's about 10 minutes long. So put some time into that and take a look at it. There was a virtual public meeting held on August 4th. This was an opportunity for the developer team to present the project to the public, and the public was able to ask questions of the developer team and have those answered in real time. There's also a community office. So this is a physical location where members of the public can come to ADOT and have a member of ADOT and or the developer team discuss with them the project, their concerns, any questions they may have. Next slide, please. Something unique to this project is a paid media campaign. So working together with ADOT and MAG, you may have seen print, TV, radio, social media. Some of these are the more standard efforts that go out for a media campaign. On the right, you'll see the billboards that are along the corridor. They're also along the 202 and some other areas, just noting that construction is underway at this point, or construction has begun. If you have been to a gas station in the area, you may have seen a poster or a pump topper talking about the project as well. And at the airport, both terminals 3 and 4, the escalators and the baggage stations have ads for the project. And what was really interesting to me is the search ads. So the paid media includes Google and Bing. And so if you hit on I-10 Broadway Curve, we've had over 15,000 unique clicks on paid ads with a almost 26% click-through rate. And this is exciting because a standard click-through rate is like 5%. So 5 times what you would have in a normal search. Next slide, please. I next wanted to highlight the transportation demand management work that's been ongoing with our member agencies. So there's improvements to the arterial roadway system through a series of IGAs with City of Tempe and City of Phoenix. In these 2 exhibits here, you'll see that over 100 intersections were reviewed and evaluated for upgrades that may be needed for signal enhancement. City of Phoenix received funding that will go towards 11 intersections, and City of Tempe has 42 intersections that will receive enhancements. There's been a traffic signal coordination project that is led by MAG staff And that is to help with people that during the closures or during constructions aren't comfortable driving through the project area. And so the signal coordination will help them get to where they need to go more quickly. And then the communication efforts to manage congestion. So that's the paid media campaign that I had mentioned earlier. There is also an ongoing coordination with Valley Metro discussing alternative commutes and express bus that we're keeping an eye on those routes. Next slide, please. So this item is on your agenda for information and discussion. I'm happy to take any comments you may have.
Thank you, Quinn. Any questions or comments related to the Broadway Curve Improvement Project? All right, thank you again. There is no legislative update, so there will be no item 7. Looking on to item 8, are there any requests by membership for an item on a future agenda? Item number 9, are there any comments or announcements from the membership? By the way, happy birthday, Mayor Gallego.
Thank you. I do have if no one else has a comment, I do have a comment.
Even if they do, you have the floor.
There's got to be some perk to a birthday. Thank you. And thanks. A few of our committee members sent nice notes on my birthday. So really very much appreciated. I just have been thinking a lot as we move into the legislative session and the extension of Prop 400, how important this committee's work and the MAG work has been. We have spent countless hours on the plan that will next go to the legislature, really working to make sure a plan that works together for their entire region. It balances a lot of different things, and no one got exactly what they wanted, but I hope that we can all join together in sending a very strong message to stakeholders that this is the plan. We're not editing it. It was finely balanced and really took a lot of things into consideration as we made it, and that we all support the plan as passed by MAG and as passed by TBC, that we must not forego the opportunity or ability to make decisions about where transportation resources will be allocated. Those decisions really need to rest with TPC and the regional council. So I hope we can continue to remind other stakeholders of all the hours and hours we have put into the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gallego. And perhaps it would be good to hear at a future time just our plan to unveil this and continue to move ahead with this item. Any other comments or announcements?
Mayor Hartke? Mayor
Giles.
Giles. I just want to, well, first congratulate Kate and wish her a happy birthday. But I am struck with the same importance that this message that Kate just expressed to us. There is going to come a time here over the next few months where other parts of government, that like to engage in partisanship and in contention are going to try, I think, to break us up as a group. And I think I'm very proud of the work that this, the TPC was created by the Arizona legislature to do exactly this job, to come together in a nonpartisan way, in a community way, to compromise and to prioritize our needs for this region. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done. So I hope that we'll all take pride in this, and that we'll all, link arms and going forward, that this is not a plan that can be compromised anymore or can be adjusted. So again, I just want to add my congratulations to this body for doing a good job on this regional transportation plan, and underscore the importance of us taking this plan to the legislature, linking arms, and making sure we get it through. So thank you, and happy birthday, Mayor Gallego.
Good comments, Mayor Giles. All right, hearing no others, I think we can say business is now concluded and our meeting is adjourned. Have a good day, everybody.
Mayor Woods, I think, is speaking.
Oh, Mayor Woods, I'm sorry, I don't see him.
No worries, Mayor Harkey. I really appreciate. I'll be very, very quick. I just wanted to echo what Mayor Gallego and Mayor Giles said. I completely support their comments. I don't want to make the meeting any longer than it has to be. So I just wanted to throw the city of Tempe support in behind Mayor Gallego and Mayor Giles' statements. And of course, very happy birthday to Mayor Gallego as well.
Thank you.
All right, any additional comments? Hearing no others, going once, going twice. Our business is now concluded. The meeting is adjourned. Take care.
Thank you.